Hello, my name is Narelle Chedzi and I'm a software developer at Esri working on ArcGIS Pro. Today in this demo theatre we'll be looking at support for GNSS or GPS devices in the Pro API. I have a few slides, but most of this session will be working with code in Visual Studio. So let's go ahead and get started. GPS support was added to ArcGIS Pro at the 2.7 release. The API allows you to connect to location devices, customize environment settings such as accuracy threshold, enable the location device in the active map, customize display and map navigation options such as zooming or panning to the current location or ensuring that the device location is centered in the current map extent, and of course collecting field data. Note that only NMEA-enabled GNSS devices are currently supported, with connections via Bluetooth or USB. To work with the API, there are two static classes in two different namespaces. The Device Location Service class is located in the arcgis.desktop.core.deviceLocation namespace, and this allows you to manage device location sources with methods for opening, closing, updating properties of device locations. Class also has methods for managing environment settings such as the accuracy threshold. The second class is the Map Device Location Service class located in the arcgis.desktop.mapping.deviceLocation namespace, and this allows you to manage the enabled state of the current device along with methods for setting and updating the map navigation options. In addition, the API supports a few events found in the arcgis.desktop.core.deviceLocation.events namespace. First is the device location source changed event, which fires when the current device location changes. The other important event is the snapshot changed event, which is used for collecting the snapshot data from the current device. Let's go ahead and get started with a demo and see all of this in action. So here I am in ArcGIS Pro and I have a fairly simple project, a couple of base maps and two feature classes which I'm going to use to demonstrate capturing of the data. The point feature class has a number of metadata fields added. These have been obtained by running the Add GPS Metadata Fields GP tool. I just picked my point feature class and ran the tool and the metadata fields were added. My polyline feature class just simply has an object ID and shape fields, no additional metadata fields. Let's navigate to my add-in tab. I have a single button which is going to launch a dock pane which has a number of buttons and controls which is going to help me illustrate some of the GPS Device Location API. As you can see right now, I do not have a connection to a device location source, and we can verify this by looking at the device location tab on the backstage options. I also have an accuracy threshold of 5 meters set right now. So I am going to enter a COM port. This is the minimum amount of information required to make a connection to a device location source. I could also have added other properties here, other controls here on my UI for things like baud rate and parity. But in this demo, I'm just going to be using default values. So really all I need is the COM port. So let's enter the COM port and connect. And you can see that my UI is updated. If I go back and look at the backstage options, you can see that I have an active device. My threshold is still 5 meters because I didn't change it, but I don't see anything on my map. And in order to be able to see my device on the map, I need to enable it. So I'm going to go ahead and click the enable button. I still don't see it on my map, so maybe I just need to go ahead and zoom pan to where my location is tracking. I can play with various parts of the navigation options. You can see that as it moves down, it's probably going to run off my map fairly soon. So I might be interested in looking at keep at center so that always my location is in the center of my current map. So I'm going to go ahead and update my map options. And you can see that now as it tracks, my map is going to track with this device location. You might have also noticed that my tracker has sometimes changes between blue and red. The blue indicates that my accuracy is good, that the device accuracy is smaller than the accuracy threshold. When it's red, my device accuracy is larger than the accuracy threshold, meaning that my data might not be that accurate. I can go ahead and change my accuracy threshold. Perhaps I want to change it to be 7 meters. And so now I'm probably more likely to get a lot more blues because my accuracy threshold is larger. But what I really want to be doing after all of this is really just tracking this device location. So I'm going to go ahead and start tracking to capture the snapshots. And you can see that here's my event kicking in all the time. I'm logging as it fires. But mostly what we want to do is actually log these as points. So if I click the checkbox on, I'm going to go ahead and start logging features for every snapshot. And you can see that all of the metadata items have been filled in. All of my metadata fields have been filled in with data from the snapshot. And so we just keep going a point for every snapshot and it adds into my feature class. But what if I want to log to a different type of feature? Well, I can choose to log to a polyline. And you can see that I'm no longer getting point features created on my map or in my database, although the snapshots are still coming. And here is my first polyline. Now I have my code set up to basically create a polyline for every 5 snapshots that come in. You can obviously do a lot of different permutations according to what your business workflow is, but you can see there that I'm logging polylines from the snapshot data. And I can just choose to stop all of that by clicking the stop tracking. My device keeps moving, but I'm no longer tracking those particular snapshots. And finally, after all of this, I can choose to disable my map or even close the particular device location source. And we can verify that again by going back to my device location tab. And seeing that I have no device location selected. So let's go ahead and examine the code for all of this. I've reset my project so that I don't have a device location source connected and I don't have any data in my feature classes. Let's go ahead and run through the workflow again, starting with connection to a COM port and see the code behind all of these buttons. So I'm going to enter my COM port and click the connect button to connect to a new device location source. My first breakpoint goes off. And here we are accessing the device location service object. This is the one that we mentioned earlier that has methods for connecting to device location sources and configuring the environment settings. And you can see that I have a number of methods here. First of interest is the open method, which allows me to connect to a new device location source. This method takes a source along with a set of properties for the environment settings. I also have a method here to determine whether I currently have a device connected. I have methods to retrieve the current device location source along with method to retrieve the current device location properties. I also have methods to update the current device location source. Perhaps I want to change a baud rate or change the antenna height or something like that. A method to update the device location properties. And I also have a method to close if I choose to disconnect from any device location source. So I'm going to get a copy of this particular class, and then in order to connect, I want to create a instance of this serial port device location source. This inherits from the base class of device location source, and this class has properties for COM port, baud rate, data bits, parity, stop bits, and antenna height. It also has a property to set the spatial reference if your device location source collects data in a particular spatial reference. So in order to connect, I need to create a new instance of this class. I'm going to set up my COM port. As I mentioned previously, if I had other controls on the UI, I would be populating other properties with things like the baud rate and the antenna height. Part of the open is also setting up things like the environment settings, such as the accuracy threshold. First time around, I am not setting this up, so this is going to keep the existing accuracy threshold. We need to jump to the background thread because all of these methods operate on the background thread. Retrieve the current source and close any existing source. I didn't have an existing source, so all I'm going to do is now call the open method, passing in my new source and the set of properties which are null. And at this point, we can see that I now have a new device location connected on COM3. Again, I still don't see this in my map, so I need to go ahead and enable my device location. So here I am with the second class, the map device location service class. And this is the class that allows me to interact with the device location on the map. So I can determine whether my device location is enabled. I can zoom or pan to the current location in the map, and I can also set up a number of device location options, which we'll examine a little later. In this instance, I want to determine whether I'm enabled or not. Currently, I'm not enabled. Again, we jump to the background thread. I'm going to toggle my enabled state and then go ahead and set that on the particular device location. I'm also going to go ahead and get the current device location options and set up my UI so that it respects what those current set of options are. I still don't see the device on my map, so like before, I'm going to go ahead and zoom or pan to the current location. Again, we get a copy of the map device location service class, jump to the background thread, and then we go ahead and use the zoom or pan to current location with a value of true. And you can see that here I am with my device location source. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit here. Next, we went around and tried to keep the map in particular sync with the position of my device location source. So here I am. I'm going to turn on the Keep at Center and click the Update Options. And here I am in my Update Map Location Options method. Again, get a copy of the Map Device Location Service class, get my current set of device location options. If we look at the definition of this class, you can see that we have properties to set the visibility, set whether we're tracking up navigation, whether we're showing an accuracy buffer, and what the current navigation mode is. Am I keeping it center or keeping within view? So I'm going to set up my Boolean values on the class according to my UI. Here I am, my keep it center, setting the enumeration, and my track up navigation. Again, we'll jump to the background thread and then call the set device location options method. You can see that now, as my device tracks, my map is moving slowly. Zoom in a little bit, you can see it more to keep it at the center. Now that I have a device location connected and my map navigation options are updated, I might be interested in examining the accuracy threshold versus the accuracy of my device location. Again, you can see that my current device location snapshots are red, and they sometimes toggle to blue to indicate that they have accuracies that are within the accuracy threshold. So I want to go ahead and choose to update my accuracy threshold to make it a little bit bigger so that it seems like my device location is more accurate. So I'll go ahead and enter 7 and click the update button. Again, breakpoint and a reference to the device location service object. Retrieve my current source, and you can see that it is connected on COM port 3 and the default values of baud rate of 4800, antenna height, and things like that. Again, I am going to jump to the background thread. If I was interested in updating some of the properties of my device location source, I can choose to update those properties on my class and call the update source method. However, I am going to be updating the accuracy, so I will retrieve the current set of properties, the environment settings. We go ahead and look at those properties. You can see that my accuracy threshold is currently 5. I'm going to update that to my value of 7 and then call the update properties method to ensure that my environment threshold, my accuracy threshold, has been updated. Now you can see that my snapshot is blue a little bit more regularly. Finally, we are going to start tracking this particular data set out to feature classes. So I'll start by just tracking and subscribing to the event. Here we are, snapshot changed event. I'll subscribe and I'll pass in a particular delegate. And as soon as I've done that, you can see that my delegate starts firing. So I have a snapshot property on the arguments. And because we are an NMEA device, I know that I can cast that to an NMEA snapshot class. And I can get that position as a map point object. And when I look at that position, I have things like the X and Y coordinates. I have a spatial reference. I also have dimensions and an extent. Initially, I am just logging this information out to my doc pane. I have a Boolean value here to determine whether I'm logging as a feature. Currently that is checked off. So we'll just keep logging snapshots out to the doc pane, my X, my Y coordinates. I'm going to go ahead and turn the log as feature on, and you'll see that by default I'm logging as a point. So I'm going to come along and retrieve my map, my point layer from the map, and I simply just create an edit operation, give it a name, populate all of the different metadata properties that have come from the snapshot class. Let's have a look at the snapshot class. You can see that I have properties such as the horizontal accuracy and vertical accuracy. I have latitude and longitude. I have altitude. I have a date timestamp. I have a Boolean which tells me whether this snapshot meets the accuracy threshold. I also have my get position as map point to return me the X, Y, and Z coordinates. So I'll just go ahead and add all of these attributes into my fields that exist on my metadata, on my feature class. Final one is to add the snapshot point. Edit operation.create, edit operation.execute, and we just keep coming in and logging points. I want to choose to log as a polyline. Very similar. We have code to retrieve the line layer. And now all I'm doing is adding that point into a collection. And when that collection count retrieves 5 points, I'm going to go ahead and create a polyline. You can see that now I have 5 in my collection. Go ahead and create a polyline from those points. Again, a new edit operation, give it a name, create, execute, and then reset my list so that a new set of 5 can be created. Again, I can go ahead and stop tracking. And all that is just subscribing from the snapshot changed event and doing some cleanup. Finally close, go ahead and get a reference to the device location service object. Make sure we have a source, make sure we're connected, and then just call the close method. To summarize, in this session, we've demonstrated the following functionality from the Device Location API. The ability to manage your connections to location sources, how to customize map navigation options, and how to track location snapshot data. Thank you for listening to this demo theatre.